Yo, what's up guys? In this video, I'm going to be running through literally everything you need to know about FanDuel Sportsbook, how to take advantage of their promos, strategies that I use to make money on FanDuel. This is a book I've been using basically since the first day it launched. I started my career, I was a quantitative trader living on the Pennsylvania-New Jersey border, and sports betting in the US is done on a state-by-state basis. So I was probably one of the first people ever to sign up for FanDuel Sportsbook. So I'm not gonna lie, I don't think FanDuel is the most exploitable book or the easiest book to beat. You can see since I started using this bet tracker, I use a bet tracker called Pickit. It's a public verified bet tracker, so you can actually follow me on Pickit to see all my plays. But I started using Pickit in maybe 2022. So since 2022, I've made like 20K on FanDuel, which is pretty good. I mean, I'm in the green, but it's not as exploitable of a sports book compared to others. So for example, WynnBET is another book I use. It's another regulated sports book that unfortunately is now out of business, but you can see on WynnBET, was much more of a profit driver for me. I'm up over $200,000 on WynnBET. But anyways, the point of this video is to take you from signing up to making money consistently month after month on FanDuel. I'm not an expert, but these strategies have worked for me and helped me stay green, make money on basically every book I use. I always say, I obviously work in gambling. I love to bet on sports. I enjoy it. It makes me some money. But I always say most people shouldn't gamble. And I'm probably the only person that will tell you that. Most people are not going to make money on FanDuel. 97% of sports bettors lose money long term. However, you can, similar to poker, if you put in the work to understand data-driven strategies, how to exploit profitable promos, bonus bets on FanDuel, you can absolutely get an edge and win long term. That's what I love about sports betting. Similar to poker, sports betting is one of the only forms of gambling where you can actually get an edge and win long term. You're not going to make money playing slots or baccarat or craps. Like, those are games you literally can't beat. However, sports betting is a game you can beat. You can be profitable on FanDuel if you put in the work to learn about profitable betting strategies. But anyways, without further ado, let's start with the sign-up bonus on FanDuel. So a lot of people, ask me, why do sportsbooks offer sign-up bonuses? Like, you can see on FanDuel, the offer they're currently running, and sometimes they change them around. We're currently in the NBA playoffs. So what their offer is bet $5 and they'll give you, if your bet wins, $200 in bonus bets. This has been the sign-up bonus on FanDuel for a while. Maybe during NFL season, they'll change it. I don't know. But this is the current offer. And a lot of people will look at that and be like, that's way too good to be true. How does that make any sense? I bet $5 and if my bet wins, you're just going to give me $200 extra. But you have to remember all of these books, FanDuel, DraftKings, PrizePicks, right? They all do roughly the same thing. They take bets. So essentially, all of these books are trying to compete, market for new customers. FanDuel knows 97% of people that sign up are going to lose a ton of money on FanDuel long term. They're going to make a lot of money off these people. So they run promos to kind of entice people to pick FanDuel. FanDuel wants you to sign up for FanDuel, not DraftKings. So they offer these lucrative sign-up bonuses and stuff like that. But that's the current offer on FanDuel. You bet $5, and if your bet wins, you get $200 in bonus bets for free. So the first thing is, how should you take advantage of the sign-up bonus on FanDuel? Well, you only get the $200 if your bet wins, right? So you should bet on a big favorite. You should bet on a team that is very likely to win the game, right? Like, I wouldn't want to bet on the Rockies in the MLB tonight and put $5 on them as my first bet for my sign-up bonus because they're big underdogs, right? They're like plus 300, 3-1 underdogs, 25% to win according to the market. So what you want to do is you want to bet on favorites, right? Big favorites for your very first bet on FanDuel. You want to bet on a, heavily favored team. I don't think there's any minimum odds requirement. So ideally, you bet on something that's like minus 1,000, a huge favorite. Minus 1,000, means a 10-to-1 betting favorite. You're only betting $5 to win 50 cents. But, again, you're also going to get $200 if your first bet wins. So you want to bet on a favored team. That's FanDuel's current sign-up bonus. I mean, it's super profitable. Just bet on a heavily favored team, and then you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. So a lot of people may be confused. What are bonus bets? Bonus bets are essentially, pretty similar to site credit, but the way they work is you do not get your stake back. So let's say I place my first bet for $5 on FanDuel on the Diamondbacks. The Diamondbacks win. FanDuel is going to give me $200 in bonus bets. I don't want to bet that, on a heavily favored team because I don't get back my stake. So as an example, let's say, you win your first bet. Again, you want to bet on a big favorite. You want to take a safe bet that is very likely to win. I checked. There's no minimum odds requirement, so even something like Diamondbacks plus 3.5 at minus 4,000, it's a 40-to-1 favorite. I'm never going to say the word lock. Crazy things happen in sports betting, but it's pretty close to, a guaranteed win. That would be a great play to go with because that bet is almost certain to hit and you're going to get the $200 in bonus bets. But anyways, these bonus bets, you also don't want to bet on big favorites. So you do not get back your stake with a bonus bet. That's the difference between placing a bet with cash versus with a bonus bet. So for example, let's say we put our $200 bonus bet from FanDuel on the Diamondbacks plus 3.5 at minus 4,000. We're betting $200 to win $5 in profit. You don't get back your stake. So if you place your bonus bet on Diamondbacks plus 3.5, you're basically turning your $200 bonus bet into $5, right? Because if the Diamondbacks cover plus 3.5, they don't lose by 4 or more runs, you're not getting back the $200 stake. You're not getting back the $200 bonus bet. You're turning your $200 bonus bet into $5 in cash, which is obviously horrible. So long story short, you want to put your bonus bets on long shot outcomes, right? On underdogs. And you can spread out these bonus bets. You don't have to put the full 200 on one play. So what I recommend doing is finding underdog bets on FanDuel that actually have pretty good value. So I'll give you an example of how I use my bonus bets on FanDuel. So let me show you how I recommend the mathematical strategy behind maximizing these bonus bets. You'll see FanDuel has bonus bet promos. It's not only for the sign-up bonus, so this is useful to know when you're betting on FanDuel anyways. So if I bet on a super favored outcome, right, like D-backs minus 4,000, I'm basically turning my $200 bonus bet into $5 profit. Even if we say the D-backs are 100%, they're a lock, they're guaranteed to cover plus 3.5, I'm taking a $200 bonus bet and turning it into $5 profit. That's not good. With your bonus bets, you want to bet on underdog outcomes. So typically what I do is whenever I get a bonus bet on FanDuel, I'll go to the OddsJam positive EV tool. And all this tool does is read in the odds from every sportsbook. I mean, it's updating millions of odds and point out value. And I try to find a good underdog bet. So here, for example, Josh Naylor, all these books set their own lines. The sports betting market is super fragmented, inefficient. So Josh Naylor is plus 560. On FanDuel, no other book is offering above plus 407. So I'll break down the math. I actually bet on this myself. I didn't have a $200 bonus bet, but I put $200 cash on it. So yeah, hopefully Josh Naylor goes yard tonight. But basically, what we can do is, again, if the bonus bet loses, it doesn't matter, right? It's not real money. It's a bonus bet. So if we lose the bonus bet, there's no downside. But if we win, if Josh Naylor does hit a home run, we're going to profit $1,120. $1,120. Again, if you're betting with cash, like I am, this is a bet with cash. I not only am getting 1.1K in profit, I'm also getting, you can see right here, I'm going to get my stake back for a total payout of $13.20. But if you bet this with a bonus bet, you're only getting the profit of $11.20. So basically, if I put a $200 bonus bet on Josh Naylor to go yard, if he doesn't hit a home run, I just lose the bonus bet. However, if he does hit a home run, I win $11.20 in profit. So the question is, what's the probability Josh Naylor hits a home run? So you're going to see most of these sports books have him around, plus 400. Pinnacle's known to be a really sharp book. NoVig, ProfitX, Caesars, all these books have him around, a plus 400-ish. So he's a 4-1 underdog to hit a home run. So the sports books are telling you he's about 20% to hit a home run. Odds imply win probability, right? Plus 1,000 means a 10-1 underdog, right? Plus 200 means a 2-1 underdog, a third to win the game. So for Josh Naylor, what I can do is I can just put in Pinnacle's market. This is known to be a really sharp book, a book with, really accurate lines. They're really good at setting lines, pricing. So what this does is it just takes the sportsbook's market. It's called a NoVig odds calculator and tells you, the win probability for your bet. So basically, based on Pinnacle's market, again, Josh Naylor's about, plus 400, a 4-1 underdog. So Naylor's about 20%, technically 18.96% to go yard. So essentially, right, if I bet on the D-backs, I'm just turning my bonus bet into $5. However, if I put my $200 bonus bet on Naylor, there's an 18.96% chance I win 1.1K, $11.20. And the rest of the time, I'm just going to lose my bonus bet. So basically, what you can do is you can kind of back out the value of the bonus bet. So there's an 18.96% chance I win 1.1K, which means I'm turning the $200 bonus bet into $212 in expected value. Josh Naylor's not going to go yard every game, but it's a play with great value. And, the 19% of the time he goes yard, my $200 bonus bet is going to turn into 1.1K. So $212 in expected value. Long story short, when you get these bonus bets, try to find long shot bets with value. So like Cody Clemens plus 500, that may be another decent bet if you had a bonus bet to throw it on. And again, this isn't only for the sign-up bonus. If you have one from a different FanDuel Sportsbook promotion, it's a great idea to just use the OddsJam positive EV tool, find some value, throw the bonus bet down on them. What you could also do with your $200 bonus bet is convert it into risk-free profit. So, for example, if I go here to FanDuel, you may say like, yeah, this is cool. I'm getting a higher expected value, and about 20% of the time I'm going to win 1.1K, but I want guaranteed profit. Right? So like, obviously this is worse. You don't want to bet on the Diamondbacks plus 3.5. So if you want to turn your bonus bets into risk-free cash, risk-free profit, you can essentially just hedge on a different book and turn your FanDuel bonus bet into a profit. So if I go here, I have a FanDuel bonus bet. In this case, it's going to be $200. What OddsJam's going to do is really just scan the books, and it's going to tell you, right, how to turn your bonus bet into risk-free profit. So what it's telling me here, right, if I just follow the little calculator, is put my $200 bonus bet on Jonathan India to hit a home run at plus 670. And then it tells me, hedge, bet is under on ProfitX for, in this case, it's, how much is it telling me to bet? 1,170. So it's saying, put your bonus bet on Jonathan India to go yard, hedge on ProfitX on his under, and you can see the math right here. If he hits a home run or he doesn't hit a home run, I'm basically just turning my $200 bonus bet into $170 of risk-free profit with no risk by just hedging against another book. And obviously, depending on the books you use, you may see different plays. The higher percentages, the better. So like this play on Alex Thomas, if I hedge following the calculator, you can read the little description. I'm turning my $200 bonus bet into $140 in risk-free profit. There's no risk. Obviously, $140 is still good. Risk-free profit, it's better than $5. But ideally, you're getting, conversion percentages. You can see right here, this one's 85%. Ideally, you pick, essentially these plays where you can hedge and turn your bonus bet into risk-free cash, at a rate of I usually look for 80%, something like that. So bonus bets, everything I just explained, a ton of sports books. It's not just FanDuel, DraftKings, BetMGM. They offer these bonus bet promotions as well. So the same information applies. I mean, these sports books all work in basically the same way. And honestly, before we get deeper into FanDuel, how to make money on FanDuel, I really want to stress the best piece of advice, the best advice I ever got when I started sports betting is you want to use multiple books because all these books, they set their own lines. So, it doesn't really matter, right? If you have an investment account, it doesn't really matter if you buy a stock on E-Trade or Robinhood or Fidelity. It's the same price. That's not the same. That's not the case in sports betting. So for example, if you use FanDuel, you don't want to bet on the Knicks tonight or the Celtics on FanDuel. You can see there's other books offering better prices. I can get the Knicks at -133 on NoVig, which is a new book that's available, legal in basically every state. So why on earth would I bet on them on FanDuel at -146 odds if I can get them at -133 on NoVig? You're getting ripped off, right? If a bunch of other books are offering better odds than FanDuel, you should not take that bet on FanDuel. This is called line shopping, right? You always want to make sure if you lock in a bet on FanDuel, FanDuel is offering the best possible price, the best possible odds. It's kind of like being an investor, right? Would you rather buy a stock at $133 or $146? Obviously $133. You're going to get killed as a trader or an investor if you're buying things at 20% worse prices. And it's the same thing in sports betting. In this scenario, obviously you don't want to bet on, the Knicks on FanDuel because they're offering you really bad odds. And sports betting is about getting good odds, finding value in the market. That's how you're going to get an edge and win long term. So I actually put this graphic together and, it may not seem like a big deal. Who cares? -133 versus -146. But long term, nobody wins every bet. Everything boils down to price, the odds you're getting, finding value in the market. Betting at +110 versus -110. If you go 500 and 500 with an $100 unit size, it's shockingly different results, right? You go from making a ton of money to losing a ton of money. So getting good odds, finding value on FanDuel, making sure FanDuel is offering the best possible odds, the best possible price on all of your bets is critical. So FanDuel sign-up bonus, $200. That's not the only promo they run. Again, all of these books are trying to compel you to keep betting on their sports book. So for example, the WNBA starts today, women's basketball. FanDuel's running a promo. It's a no sweat token. Basically, you place a bet on the WNBA. If you lose, they give you your money back. Not a bad deal, right? It's basically, free money. They also have some promos for the NBA playoffs, stuff like that. Promos, profit boosts, no sweat bets, easiest money you are ever going to make sports betting. All these promos work a little differently, profit boost versus no sweat bets. Not all the promos also are profitable. Sometimes you got to be careful. Sometimes there's not good promos, like maybe a 5% profit boost might not even be worth playing. But long story short, taking advantage of promos, that's the easiest money you're going to make on FanDuel. So I'm going to run through some examples of how I take advantage of these FanDuel promos. If you have any questions, comment them below. But when I started sports betting, when I started to dip my toes into positive EV betting, trying to make money gambling, I first took advantage of the low-hanging fruit, right? All these promos on FanDuel every single day. I would get home from work, I would be all excited, open up my FanDuel account, check for profit boosts, no sweat bets. If you lose, you get your money back. They may not seem like a big deal, but again, it adds up long term. Profit boost, stuff like that obviously makes it a lot easier to be a profitable sports bettor. And, long story short, I try to take advantage of all of them. So let's go through some examples. So typically first thing before I do anything else is I check every sportsbook I use, not just FanDuel, for no-brainer promos. So for example, this is a no-brainer promo. You get a no sweat token to use on any wager for WNBA games. Unfortunately, on FanDuel, because I've been profitable on them, they've kind of reduced the amount I can bet on these promos. So this is only a max of $5, but there's no downside. If you lose this bet, you get your money back in bonus bets. You know, this is an absolute no-brainer. So typically what I do is, again, I just try to find, so if I filter for the WNBA specifically, I try to find a little bit of value and then make a parlay or something like that. So as an example, let's check out this. Let's build a little parlay to put our no sweat token on. So OddsJam makes it pretty easy because there's like this one-click bet. You just click and it takes you directly to the sportsbook. And again, this is a no sweat token, so kind of similar to bonus bets. We want to bet these on longer odds, right? So what I can do is just make a little 2-pick parlay. Ideally, the odds were a little bit longer. So let's actually go here and try to find another pick with value. So again, this is just the positive EV tool. On OddsJam, I just put in FanDuel WNBA. All it's going to do is scan the books, point out value. I'm a super data-driven sports bettor. You got to be finding value. Easiest way to get an edge and win long-term. Find value, take advantage of promos. So you can see here, you know, FanDuel is giving us the same price, the same odds on the over and the under. So they don't really have an opinion. They're saying it's 50-50 to go over or under. All these other sports books, including Pinnacle, which again is a pretty sharp book, they all have the over heavily favored. So that seems like a great play to go with. And maybe there's some games tomorrow, WNBA. So what I can actually do, and there is, here, Indiana Fever, minus 230. Man, we got a lot of bets. So what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to put together a quick parlay, right? If every bet in your parlay, why aren't these other picks coming up? If every pick in your parlay is profitable or plus EV, then your parlay is going to be plus EV. And again, there's no downside. Like if we lose our bet, we get our money back. So this is an absolute no-brainer promo. So let's put something together. Here's a little parlay, right? Every pick is plus EV. Every single pick has value. You know, I just put in Fever minus 230. Pinnacle, a sharp book, has this minus 270, as well as some other data points in the market. It's only a max of $5. I throw $5 on it. And again, really no downside. It's that simple. I want to take advantage of all these profitable promos. So here's a 30% profit boost to use on the Nationals-Orioles game. Because I live in Virginia, this promo may actually, you know, just be for Virginia. So what I can do is let's clear out all sports except baseball. And let's see here. I'll search for the Nationals game. Find me some value. This seems solid. Over 12.5 runs. So this is an alternate line. I'm getting a 30% profit boost. So this is going to go up to plus 430. Which obviously seems like great value. I mean, there's barely a book offering above plus 300. I'm getting plus 430. I could even hedge. I could arbitrage bet that against NoVig. So arbitrage betting is basically, you know, and you can do it with promos too. How much is this for max? So it's only a $10 max bet size, but I can kind of show you what I mean is if I go to an arbitrage calculator, I'm getting the over at plus 430. The under is way different at minus 381. Because we put the profit boost on this, again, unfortunately, it's only a max of, you know, it's only a max of, what is it? It's only a max of $10 bet size. But I can pull up a hedge calculator. And I used to do this more often. I'm just going to let this bet ride. It's only for $10. But I used to take these promos, especially when they're bigger, and add the profit boost. So now I'm getting plus 430, hedge against a different book to guarantee a profit. In this case, because I could only bet $10, it's really small. It's only $1. So I'm not going to arbitrage bet it, but I could. So here we have a nerfy profit boost. 50% is a lot. Like, you got to remember the average juice that these books are charging is like, you know, so let's see, first inning. So it doesn't seem, 50%, long story short, is a huge boost. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to look for a decent line to put this profit boost on FanDuel. So if I go to first inning total runs, that's the same Yerfy, Nerfy, runs first inning, yes run first inning, or no run first inning. And oftentimes what I try to do is just, find some decent value on FanDuel. So let's see what we can do. Where are you offering decent value, FanDuel? I'm thinking, so this seems, honestly, we could take the Yerfy, the yes run first inning, plus 102 on FanDuel. Is there anything better? So plus 102, we're getting a 50% boost, so we're going to be getting like plus 152. So what I can do is I can just go here. Where's the game? This is the Orioles-Nationals game. Where is first innings, right? So some of these promos you can only bet on specific markets. So again, I'm getting a 50% boost. This goes up to plus 153. I could hedge if I wanted to against any other book that has the under at like minus 125. Even DraftKings has the under at minus 115. So this is just the OddsJam Sportsbook screen. It's just kind of like a Bloomberg terminal that shows you all the data, and you can kind of hunt around the market and look for value. But what was the final play now? So these promos, all of them in this scenario are super profitable. A 50% boost is a ton. You could just hedge it with another book to make a small little risk-free profit if you wanted to. But what I want to do now is this NBA boost. Oh, baby. So we got Jamal Murray over in threes. So this is already a bet with value, right? They have a 30% profit boost on the NBA. So what I can do is just put something together. This play on Murray already has value at plus 158. You can see Pinnacle, known to be a very sharp book. They're only offering plus 124. Again, a 30% boost is a lot. So I'll just throw down something like this. And now I've taken advantage of all the profitable promos on FanDuel. I do this every single day. Usually on FanDuel, in terms of promo value, again, there's no downside to using this WNBA no sweat token. If you lose, you get your money back. So it's basically a free $5 from FanDuel. Maybe if you're in a different state or if you're not limited on FanDuel or something, maybe they give you this for $25, $50. But it's a no-brainer promo every single day just in terms of profit boosts. Usually there's like a free $10, $15 in value just on promos alone. And this is only for one sportsbook, FanDuel, right? DraftKings has a ton of good promos. All these books do. But you can see now, I got in all these promos, these profit boosts, easiest money we're going to make. WNBA no sweat. If we lose, we get our money back. I just locked in all the good promos for tonight on FanDuel. That's always where I start because, again, profit boosts, no sweat bets. You lose, you get your money back. That's the easiest money we're going to make. So before even doing anything else, looking for other bets, that's what I start with on FanDuel. So now I'm going to get into the four main strategies that I personally use to make money on FanDuel. And the first one is called positive EV betting. And it basically is possible, once again, profitable sports betting is possible and accessible to so many people because all sportsbooks set their own odds. So what I use is the OddsJam positive EV tool. It scans the millions of odds across books to point out the rare few bets on FanDuel that actually have value. So for example, I locked in Flattery over 4.5 Ks strikeouts at minus 148. I thought this was an incredible bet. You can see Pinnacle, which is known to be a really sharp book. They have the over as a much bigger favorite at minus 194. And then Circa, also known to be a really sharp book, they have the over as a much bigger favorite as well at minus 175. So I'm identifying market inefficiencies. I'm a data-driven sports bettor. I don't just wake up and place random bets with my gut. That's a surefire way, to lose money on FanDuel. I'm following data, hunting for bets with an edge on FanDuel. I place, sometimes hundreds of bets a day. Every single play has a mathematical edge. And from there, it's like having an investment portfolio. You just got to let the math work itself out. As a positive EV bettor, some days you win, some days you lose. Some weeks you'll win, some weeks you'll lose. But over the course of the long run, if your bets have an edge, over a large sample size, you're going to make money. So a lot of people ask me about bankroll management. Why did you decide to bet his over 4.5 strikeouts for $142? And what I recommend using for bankroll management is the Kelly criterion. And this applies to any sportsbook, not just FanDuel. I've made full YouTube videos on bankroll management. But in this example, I would have liked to bet more. I would have liked to bet $500 on Flattery, his over. However, FanDuel was limiting me to only $142 max. So I just bet the max I was allowed. These sports books determine your max bet size. You don't. These markets aren't super liquid. You can't bet thousands and thousands of dollars on whatever you want, especially for player props. I also use the OddsJam positive EV tool to find parlays. So I give out, tons of bets every single day for free. I love doing it on social media, Twitter, Twitch, live stream. So here's a play I locked in. And again, sometimes I play straight bets. Sometimes I run parlays. It's kind of personal preference. If a bet is plus EV or has an edge and you parlay it with another plus EV bet, another bet that has an edge, then your parlay will be plus EV. Like there's a lot of information online about, you shouldn't bet on parlays. And in general, that's true. Kind of as I said at the start of the video, most people lose money on FanDuel. So they're going to lose money on straight bets and they're going to lose even more money on parlays because a parlay is a combination of bets. So for example, if you have a negative 3% ROI on your straight bets, for a 2-leg parlay, you're going to have a negative 6% ROI. It's just two bets paired together. However, you can absolutely make money betting on parlays. So on FanDuel, I place parlays, straight bets. If a bet is plus EV, it's good to go as either a straight or in a parlay. Now, I would like to add in, two things that I don't bet on, okay? So I explained positive EV betting. I place parlays, I place straight bets. I look for inefficiencies in the market. I focus on main leagues, right? Like the MLB is it's one of the largest, leagues in the world. It's a huge sport. It's a very active betting market. There's hundreds of books posting MLB lines, prop lines every single night. So I have high confidence that I got a great bet on FanDuel, betting on Flattery over 4.5Ks at minus 148, because there's tons of other sports books. This is a very active market, and they all have this over as a much bigger favorite, around like minus 185. Data-driven sports betting. However, I don't bet on weird niche leagues. Like, for example, this play BBL Germany. I mean, who even knows how many people are betting on the BBL every single day on FanDuel? It may just be a few $1,000s in volume. So long story short, the markets are less active, less liquid, and you shouldn't have high confidence in your edge because, again, these markets may get close to zero betting volume. I also mentioned that I bet on parlays. However, I do not bet on same-game parlays because FanDuel bakes in a ton more juice. They're super unprofitable. So I'll give you a simple example, right? FanDuel sets point totals, over-unders, to be roughly 50-50, right? Like a player's 50% to go over, 50% to go under. They try to set the line for a player, whether it's Tatum, Horford, whoever, where there's basically a 50% chance of the player going over and under. So for a same-game parlay, never play same-game parlays on FanDuel unless there's a promo or a profit boost because they bake in a ton of juice. Same-game parlays are a huge profit driver for sportsbooks because they bake in extra juice. So for example, if I put 1 over, 1 under in the same game, so this is for Game 6 of Knicks Celtics, for this same-game parlay, 1 over, 1 under, FanDuel gives me plus 202. They're baking in a ton of extra juice. Compare that to betting on 1 over, 1 under in different games. So that's a regular parlay, not a same game parlay. FanDuel's giving me plus 250 256, right? So a lot, and again, it may not seem like a big difference. Who cares? Plus 202 versus plus 256. Same game parlays are nearly impossible to beat long term. So I don't even bet on them unless there's a promo, right? If there's a no sweat promo where if you lose your same game parlay, you get your money back or a really good profit boost, of course I'm gonna bet on it. However, in general, I completely lose the word. Don't bet on them. Don't bet on SGPs, same game parlays, because these books bake in a ton of juice. So positive EV betting, I've done full length YouTube videos on it. That's the first main strategy I use to beat FanDuel. And positive EV betting applies to parlays and straight bets. The second thing I use is called arbitrage betting. So if you're arbitrage betting, you're gonna need at least two sports books. So you're gonna need FanDuel and another book. But basically, arbitrage is a simple concept. When two sports books, all of these books set their own odds, their own lines. So when two sports books have such different odds, you can bet the over on one book, the under on a different book to guarantee a profit. So if FanDuel and DraftKings are super out of sync, I can bet on Jaylen Brown's over 26.5 points maybe on FanDuel, his under on DraftKings to guarantee a risk-free profit. This isn't a glamorous, betting strategy. It's not going to be a huge parlay win. However, it's risk-free money. If you are arbitrage betting, you're putting in the work to place these arbs, to bet on these arbitrage bets, you're making risk-free money, right? Every arb you lock in is free money. Some arbitrage bets are juicier than others. Some may make you $20 profit, others $5 profit, but they're all free money. So arbitrage betting is actually how I started gambling. It's how I made my first $40,000 sports betting. It's an amazing strategy. Ideally, you use multiple books, and you'll see tons of people, talking about risk-free profit arbitrage betting on social media. The third strategy I use, the third and final main strategy, positive EV betting arbitrage, is middle betting. So middle betting, just like all books set their own odds, all books set their own lines. And sometimes they get super out of sync. So for example, here, FanDuel had FSU's quarterback, DJU. They had his line at 192.5. Another book, Fliff, was super different. They had his line at 209.5. 17-yard gap, right? That's a big discrepancy. So I bet the over on FanDuel, over 192.5. I played the under on Fliff, under 207.5 or 209.5, whatever it is. And if he falls in that range, that's middle betting. You're hoping you can middle it, right? You're hoping DJU throws between 193 and 209 yards because then you win both bets. And this actually cashed the first two games of the season. So I hit this middle twice. It cashed twice, which is absolutely ridiculous. So I call middles the low risk lottery tickets of sports betting. You're always going to win at least one bet, right? I bet his over 192.5, his under 209.5. One of these bets is always going to win. However, we have this rare window of opportunity because these two books are super out of sync, where if he throws 193 to 209 yards, I'm winning both bets. And that may not seem like a huge range, right? Only like 16 yards, whatever. I have to pull up the exact numbers. But you have to remember, he's not going to throw for 800 yards, and he's not going to throw for 50 yards. So the yards around where his line is centered, it kind of follows a normal distribution, are much more likely. So these middle bets, they're super fun sweats, low risk lottery tickets is what I call them. They're also super profitable. But anyways, those are the main strategies I use to beat FanDuel. Bonuses, number one, take advantage of the low-hanging fruit, all the profitable bonuses, promos, insured bets, profit boosts, stuff like that. It's the easiest money you'll ever make sports betting. This doesn't just apply to FanDuel, but to other books as well. Same thing on DraftKings. Then arbitrage betting, positive EV betting for parlays and for straight bets. Positive EV betting is super profitable. And then middle betting. Four main strategies. That's how you bet like a sharp, and that's how you will get an edge and win on FanDuel long term. And again, basically everything we discussed applies to other books too, like DraftKings, Caesars, BetMGM. Thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment any questions, other video ideas. I love making sports betting content.